Hi guys, welcome to another video. Now this one is going to be a little bit different because we're going to go through the complete process from the actual shoot to the final edits, because the edit ultimately is probably as important as the actual taking of the image. And in case you're wondering what I'm doing at the moment is I'm making sure the tripod's positioned in a way that I'm low enough to not have the twigs overlapping the waterfall. Now of course this is a really beautiful waterfall, but I'm also keen to get some foreground interest, and I'm thinking these rocks here could make a nice foreground interest, so we'll probably will go portrait for the shot. Straight away I'm getting 2 seconds at f11, that's really nice actually. Going to remove my Freewell 3 to 7 stop neutral density filter with built-in circular polarizer. I'm more concerned about the circular polarizer at this stage. Now I'm using a polarizing filter because I want to make sure I cut off all the reflections from the white sky above. But yeah, this should be a nice little dynamic shot. Right, I'm getting 8 seconds f11. I'm going to take a test shot at that and see how that comes out. Right, I need to come further back, but yeah, the shot is actually really working. This is a precarious spot for taking a photo. Right, 2 seconds half timer as ever. 8.5 seconds f11. Let's have a look if it works being further back. I'm putting up every shot as I take it so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I want you to fully understand the thought process behind this imaging and the actual processing. But that works better. I think there we've got the stream leading the eye in. Water's looking really nice and milky, but, and it's a big but, I'm not sure if I'm not too high. If I was lower, all the middle ground you see between the waterfall and the stream, I could cut that out a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe the polarizer without falling in, take the shot, review the histogram, which is actually underexposed. Now I think I could pull that back okay, but I'm bringing it up a bit. Of course the problem with increasing exposure is the fact my shutter speed's going to be longer, and I'm not sure it's actually not going to be a bit too long. I do feel like I need to be further over that way, so I'm wondering, and I'm really hoping I don't get wet feet in this process, or even worse, a wet body, is I'm going to drop the legs down and try something like that, which I think may be enough to make the difference. I'm going to again wipe the filter just to make sure. "20 seconds f11. That's a long exposure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out, I'm going to put a wide angle lens, and then I'm going to come back in. Now the wide angle lens I can't fit any filters on, so it's going to have to be a straight shot, and it's also a manual focus lens, so this can make life interesting. Right, I'm back. As you can see, this has got a really bulbous front element, so there's no way I'm using a filter on this. I'm really hoping I don't get really wet feet. Keeping the camera low. This camera lens combination should be a lot wider, and it is indeed. Maybe too wide. In fact, I think I can get a bit more dynamic with the foreground, and I can use this nice big rock at the front. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the angle isn't quite right. I almost wonder if I could go to landscape on this. You know what, I reckon I could. Yeah, that works a lot nicer. Always a good idea to explore different orientations, you know, between portrait, landscape. 20 seconds, f11, let's see how that works. "20 seconds f11. As you can probably tell, it's getting really dark now, the sun has set. I think finally, not 100% convinced by that shot. I'm going to try another one vertical. I'm not really going to worry about focusing at the moment, just see if it works. That could actually be working nicely. This is going to be the last shot. I'm having one last wipe. I've definitely got a shot, I think. I'm just I'm taking a few, I'm going to import them in, and we'll have a look and see which ones we think's best. But yeah, let's have a look at this last shot when it pops up. That's it, that's the last one, I promise. And what we'll do is we'll go and import them into the computer and we'll start the processing.
So as you can see, I've imported the images into Lightroom, and now what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to narrow it down to 2 shots, which I'm going to process in colour and black and white. And to do the processing, I'm actually going to use a combination of Lightroom and DxO FilmPack 8. Now the nice people at DxO actually sent me a copy of FilmPack 8 for me to try out free of charge, and if you're interested in trying it, I will leave a link in the description, and if you use the code JASONFRIEND, you will actually get a 15% discount off purchase, should you decide to go ahead. It looks an interesting piece of software. I'm still quite unfamiliar with it, but it does promise quite a lot of things, so I think it's going to be quite interesting to see what the results I can achieve on these 2 shots. So here we have the 2 images I'm planning to work on. This was the first one taken with the 35 to 70mm lens. I'm thinking this one will be a black and white conversion. And this second one was taken with the 17mm shift lens, and I'm thinking this will be quite a nice colour one. So let's start with the one that's destined to be black and white. So we go to Edit in DxO FilmPack 8. Edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. That will pop up. So as I say, we're going to do a black and white shot. So I think what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to do a search on films, because if I was shooting black and white film, I would generally be using an Ilford film. So let's do a search for Ilford. And as you can see, we've had quite a nice little selection come up there. I'm actually probably favouring FP4 at the moment. Yeah, let's go FP4. Now what I've been finding with this FilmPack 8 is straight away I want to turn the grain off. I know grain can sometimes add to a photo, but I'd like to have a little bit more control after the event in Lightroom really. Intensity, I'm cranking up to 200. And at this stage, that's pretty much, I think, all I'm going to do. I'm just going to have a, maybe lift the shadows a fraction. Simply because if you remember, it was quite underexposed. Let's go with that. We'll do the rest in Lightroom. So I'm effectively using FilmPack 8 just to get the sort of feel I want with an image, and then we can do the fine tuning here. So in Lightroom, it shouldn't take very long, this really. If you look at the histogram, you will see that we are grouped heavily to the left hand side. It was a very dark location. So I bring the white over to the point of nearly touching, and you can see the difference it's made straight away. Now, this waterfall, to me, there was a lot of water flowing over, and I would like a little bit more detail in the actual falls, so I'm going to add a radial gradient. And then I'm going to bring the highlights down, probably like that. So let's have a look where we're at. You know what, I don't think that's actually far off. I may just try. Little bit of a tone curve. I'm going to try a little bit of a vignette. Nothing drastic. And then I'm just... No, I didn't want to do that. It's the whites I wanted to do, just a fraction more. I think that's good. So next up, it's the colour shot. It's the same situation, editing DxO FilmPack 8. Now, back in the day when I was shooting film all the time, I would have instantly gone for Fujifilm, slide film. But nowadays, if I'm shooting film, I tend to use Kodak print film. So I am going to go for Kodak. And as you can see, there's a good selection again, but I've got my three favourites. I think Kodak Portra 400. It's wiping out the highlights here. I'm not sure if they'll be able to bring those back properly. Kodak Portra 160 VC was a discontinued film I never used, but actually my film camera at the moment just got a roll of Kodak Ecto 100 in, and I believe Ecto 100 was pretty much a replacement for Portra 160 VC. So anyway, we're going to go for Ecto 100. So let's customize it straight away. Let's turn that grain off. And let's bring the rendering up. I'm concerned about these highlights here, if I'm being honest. I'm going to increase shadow detail a bit because it was really dark around here. Bring the highlights down. And then I'm going to try and sort out the contrast a little bit. Bit of micro contrast, bit of fine contrast, and then just a bit of contrast in general. You know what, let's try that. Let's get this back into Lightroom. Now again, the concern is the waterfall. I probably should have in the field actually reduced the exposure on this shot. I think the problems arose, I was using the manual focus lens, and I think perhaps it would have benefited from being probably about half a stop under. But straight away, that's looking better. A little bit concerned about the lack of contrast, but let's sort out the crop first of all, because if you will recall that I actually set my camera to a 2:3 crop because it will be used for a calendar. So straight away that is looking so much nicer. A little bit of clarity in dehaze, and I'm going to add a little bit of saturation, not much, and a bit of vibrance. Let's see what the blacks are doing. So we're getting clipping on the blacks there. So I'm going to bring the shadows up. In fact, as you can see, that's actually, there's nothing I can do about it. I think that is just, it's just clipped. So if I bring the shadows up more, you can see it's losing all contrast and it's just not looking right. So you know what? Let's not worry about it. Contrast slightly, slide these whites up. You see the difference the white slider can make? It can just really transform the contrast of a shot. I'm going to go for about that. And I think my only concern is it's quite dark under here, so I'm actually going to try a linear gradient, and I'm not going to do what you would think. I'm going to actually just lift the shadows under there. I'm just going to try just increasing the exposure, just a fraction. Yeah, I think that's the one. I think I'm happy with that. So really all that's left for me to do now is to export those and to share them with you. But before I do that, I would like to say thank you for watching this video. I hope you have got something from watching the whole process. As I say, I think with post-processing, for me anyway, I think editing should be quite subtle. There shouldn't be a lot to do. You should be able to do most of it in the field. And yeah, DxO FilmPack 8, I think it's quite interesting. I'm not sure if I'll use it all the time, but it is quite nice just to get a quick start point, which you can then just slightly refine as such. But anyway guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and here are the two final shots.